like nobody is reaching out, nobody's messaging, the posts that we're making aren't equaling, sales. Ooh, how can I message even more specifically, or how can I talk about myself? How can I talk about the solution? What are the frustrations? Just pick like 3 main frustrations. All right, do a big verbal dump onto a piece of paper or something like that. Right, just write out a bunch of stuff and then highlight the top 3. Right? Yes, that is the thing that my clients are, laying awake at night thinking, or that is the main solution. So what does that mean? Where are we now? What the fuck can we do about it? And how can we reach out to more ideal clients? Hello, gorgeous beings. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm your host, Skye Hanley, and I'm super excited to be here because this, in fact, kicks off our season 2 of Cosmic Money on the podcast, The Strategy and Energetics of 7-Figure Business. To bring us all together and to bring us into season 2, I really actually want to talk to you about what I truly believe are some of the most important things that are happening, I guess, strategically and within the business scope of things, out there at the moment, because these shifts are literally, disrupting the industry. And so, the industries, all right. And so if we don't shift with the marketplace, all righty, if we don't shift, if we don't change, if we don't, upgrade our marketing and our messaging and connect with people in a different way, guess what happens, you guys? You get left behind. So I don't want you to get left behind. I want us all to step into the future together, and be constantly upgrading so that you can scale and grow. Because let's talk about it. The problems that I see in business is generally, the front end stuff. It's the, bringing in new clients. It's the messaging and the marketing. It's the engagement side of things. It's the, showing up and flogging a dead horse and finding that, like nobody is reaching out, nobody's messaging, or we can't seem to get the engagement, or, the posts that we're making aren't equaling, sales and things like that. And again, regardless of what business you're in, I'm just in the business of, helping amazing next level coaches with their businesses, that being my vehicle and their vehicle. But if you're listening and you're from, like a service-based business or a product or an e-commerce or any of the things, right? The stuff that I'm teaching you today, and I'm literally talking about 2 main things, 2 things that are going to mean that you, in fact, do not get left behind with the changes and the shifts. And in fact, you are able to adopt and really lean into some of these changes. I think you're going to like them because at the end of the day, yes, you are a contributor out there because you have a business, and so therefore you have a marketplace, and therefore you want to market your thing, whatever that may be, right? Which includes yourself, but also you're a consumer. You actually are, you're out there buying things. You're out there, scrolling life away sometimes. Look, we all do that. And so, it's important to understand that there are probably things that are already happening within yourself, or things that you are maybe subconsciously recognizing that now we're going to be able to quantify. So you go, oh my gosh, I see that. I get that now. And then you can actually make the shift yourself too. Alrighty, so 2 things. That's it today. 2 things I'm teaching you that are literally going to transform your life and business forever. All right. Now, the first one. Everyone take a deep breath. Everyone take a deep breath. Because I just want to talk to you about a little piece of your niching and marketing and, and avatar stuff for 1 second. This is the short bit of today, but I promise you this is probably one of the most potent things that you can understand in your business. And if you are after clients, leads, clients equaling sales, that kind of a thing, this could actually be part of what is maybe either keeping you stuck or, having you be a little bit like, ain't nobody got time for a basic bitch. Let me tell you, you don't want to be beige. You don't want to be vanilla, right? And so you need to be able to stand out, and being able to stand out means engagement, and engagement means conversations, and conversations equal conversions. And okay, so bear with me for this one. The first thing is, if you are watching us on YouTube, I'm holding up a diagram. If you are not watching us from YouTube, that is totally fine as well. What I'm saying is going to make absolute sense, even if you can't see my diagram, alrighty? So This is your marketplace and your messaging. All right. Just imagine, if you're on Apple or Spotify, just imagine two circles. One circle is your messaging, the other is your marketplace. All right. Now, think of it like this: where they dissect, all right, is you. All right, where the marketplace and your messaging meet together, that is you, and that is where you want to land, bringing those two pieces really together. All right. Now, what you've got to understand, and some of the shifts and upgrades that need to be made. So, this is kind of a bit of a diagnostic for you right now. All right. Have a bit of a think. If your marketplace is broad, then your messaging must be narrow. And if your messaging is broad, then your marketplace must be narrow. All right. Now, I'm going to use myself as a bit of an example here because it's easy for me to do. Alrighty. And because, I am an example of a broad marketplace. All right. Because, I coach coaches, we know this. Alrighty. Coaches are actually a really broad marketplace. It's a broad marketplace because there are spiritual coaches, there are money coaches, there are fitness coaches, there are nutrition coaches, there are, it's like health, wealth, relationship, all of those different areas. Alrighty. So coaches in itself, there are addiction coaches that I coach. Okay. So it's like you can see this vast, expansive pool that is in fact, air quotes, coaches. So that isn't as niched as maybe you might think it is. So for me, the marketplace is actually quite broad. Now, there is no better than or worse than, all right? So I'm not sitting here going, yay, I have a broad marketplace. That's awesome. Like, what a big prize pool. It actually doesn't always work that way. If my messaging wasn't on point, I would be a basic bitch vanilla, all the rest of it as well. Okay. So my marketplace is broad, which then means that my messaging has to be narrow. And so what that might look like is how in which I help coaches within their businesses and things like that. If I was to just help coaches in business, and that be my messaging where I'm like, come and join, we help you with business, all the different things. We can do events, we can do retreats, we can help you with, your social media, your groups, your lead gen, your this, your that. Now, can I help people with all of those different things? Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. But if I message to that broader spectrum, then, you become an expert in nothing. Right? And so there's this amazing marketing saying, and I know I've said it here before in season 1 of our podcast, that is, if you speak to many people, no one hears you. If you speak to one person, then many hear you. All right. So marketplace is broad. That's for me, coaching. All right, which means my messaging must be narrow. So we used to help people create, launch, and fill their high ticket programs. All right. So that's very specific that we're helping people do that one kind of thing. These days, we're really stepping into, just fundamentally, singularly for a while, helping 0 to 15K coaches, all right, land dream online clients now. One result: dream online clients now. Get you from 0 to $15,000 a month, right? My goal is literally to make coaches as rich as fucking possible, as fast as possible. So then once, they are in, and this is me just on my rant train because I'm so passionate about this, right? Is that once they hit $15,000 a month, right? 10K a month isn't that's not big news anymore, right? That literally in this day and age is kind of like bare minimum to have a survivable business. All right. We get a little bit of extra wiggle room once we hit the 15K mark, and so that's my goal. Right? To make people as much money as possible, as fast as possible, and land them dream online clients now. But, that is the way in which that we do things. Okay. Marketplace is broad, so messaging has to be narrow. So I said this is about you, not me, right? So think about you and your business right now. Do you have a wide marketplace, but then maybe like a narrow program or product or message or that thing that you help people really specifically with? Or if it's the other way around, where it's like, it could be, I'm just going to give another weird example. We help, so messaging broad, all right. Marketplace narrow. What could that be? We engineers marketplace. That might be a little bit more. It's a medium marketplace, right? It's a little bit broad. It's a little bit narrow with LinkedIn strategy. All right. So again, you can see how these things start to get a little bit more clear as mud, but you've got to pick one or the other. All right. Maybe, a broad message could be, my example just then was engineers, right? So it could be like a broad messaging would be business. Okay. We coach engineers, narrower marketplace to build business, broader messaging. All right. Does that make sense? Did I articulate that okay, you guys? So just have a think, as I said, about what it is that you are doing right now, because you can't, with love, you can't have it both ways. You can't. And it doesn't mean that you don't help a variety of people. I'm multi-passionate myself. I really am, but I also understand the fundamentals of business. And so I understand that for me to go out there and to call in more of my amazing soul tribe, I need to be specific about who that person is. And if I refuse, to niche down beyond coaches, because I can't pick, you guys, I fucking can't pick. I've tried a million times, but I love coaching business coaches. I love coaching spiritual coaches. I love coaching fitness and health coaches. I love coaching NLP, and emotional coaches and things like that. I love addiction coaches, and the list goes on. And so if I can't narrow that down, it means that the way in which that we help people, right, over X amount of time, and we'll talk about time in a minute, has to be far more narrowed. And so we help them get this specific result in this amount of time. All righty. So that is the first thing. I think that just a little side note here. This is why I always kind of preface anytime that I'm about to mention, niching and avatar. You'll go back over any of my episodes. As soon as I'm like, oh, fuck, I've got a message. I've got to, speak to avatar and niching and that kind of thing again. I literally conniption you guys because I know how boring it fucking can be. All right. I come from, all right, literally structured business learning and things like that, tertiary education in business. And that tertiary education in business was bleak and a bit boring and a bit kind of stark and things like that. And you go, oh, fuck, niching and avatar work again. But at the end of the day, yeah, because this is the person you've got to work with every single day, right? A bunch of them. And so, or sell to, if you're, again, a commerce business of some kind, if you've got to sell to them, you better fucking love what it is that you're doing and who it is that you serve. Because you got to get on your soapbox every day and feel super passionate about it and inspired and go out there and inspire others to take an action, which generally is buy. Alrighty. So that's why I always have a bit of a preface, because I know, because I've had to do avatar and niching, and you can literally do your head in with that kind of a thing. All right. However, I think this just really simplifies it. It just simplifies it. This isn't even the two things. I've still got something else for you today, but I'm just saying in relation to marketplace and messaging, it is two simple things. Marketplace, messaging. If your marketplace is broad, your messaging and how you help people must be narrow. And if your messaging is broad, you help people, broad in terms of generalist, that's fine. But then the type of person you help has to be narrow so that you can, bring that home every single day. Message. My mouth is not working on it, and draw in more of those amazing humans. All righty. So that's kind of really fucking hot tip number one of today. Shifts, big shifts that are happening out there in the marketplace. You cannot be a generalist any longer, you just can't online specifically, right? You cannot be a generalist. It's just not working any longer. And that's okay, so we just have to pivot. We have to adapt. We have to get more refined. All right. Now, the second thing that I want to talk to you about today is, again, just another really amazing tool that you can use, all right, to kind of narrow this piece down even further so that, again, your messaging and your marketplace is even better. We just want to constantly refine across time and space to make you the go-to expert or the go-to whomever in that particular thing. All right, whatever your direction is. So the shift that we've seen, okay, is that, and again, you may have felt this over the last little while, and this happens over, years and things like that. But there's been another big shift that that is kind of happened in the last 6 months. It's kind of trickled in and it's in place now, alrighty, which means you're actually catching it at the forefront. You're not late to the party, okay? This is like, what is it? I can't. Where is my brain today? Like newsflash. I was thinking flashing news. Flashing news doesn't sound right. Newsflash, you guys. This is like fucking newsflash, right? Big announcement kind of stuff. So in the last, 6 months in particular, the marketplace has really taken a shift, and where it's shifted from and to, it's gone from, really being able to market to, let's say, a result or an outcome or something that we would call aspirational. All right. We used to be able to do a lot of aspirational marketing. Now, why did we land there? And I'll give you some examples and stuff like that. Don't worry. I'll make it make sense, I think. And so years ago, all right, we got a little bit damaged by all of the, we've talked about it here before, all of the masculine tactics, all of the rah-rah business, all of the, fast action bonuses. And to be honest with you, we really went down a bit of a black hole of manipulation and things like that. I can't remember if I've told you guys the story before, so I'll just mention it really quickly. Look, I came originally, near 20 years ago. That is just crazy. I'm just going to pass out on the floor. So about 20 years ago, I came from working in big gyms, and I did sales for big gyms, right? Where we had probably, I'd have to sell maybe 55 memberships a month was my quota. And there was probably about 4 or 5, membership consultants, doing sales and things like that. So it was very rah business. And again, if you've ever been stuck in a gym membership, gym people listening, I love you guys. It's not your fault. It's our fault from big gyms, right? Kind of, they screwed up the marketplace a little bit for everyone. And it wasn't just gyms. It was kind of across the board. There was this rah, pressure, kind of like marketing, whatever you want to call it. And so that's what I came from. That's actually, originally where one of the original places that I sort of learnt, I suppose, sales. And there was a lot of good lessons in that, let me tell you. And there were some that I just really didn't like. And so one of the things that happened or the finale of what happened was that
I've spent my life obsessed with the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. I've literally traveled the world trying to crack the code. And what I found is that when you couple the pursuit of making massive amounts of money with the strategy and science of success, plus having a desire for significant impact and contribution, magic happens. That's why I created a free 21-day next level vortex money mission magic. Hell yes to that. This 21-day quantum business challenge is here to shift you into new timelines and realities. 21 days to quantum shift your impact, business, and your bank account. These carefully crafted and channeled tools are the exact things I've used to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not done yet. If you're ready for incredible transformation now in all areas of your life, more money and financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice, better, more connected relationships, greater levels of health, and simply calling in more magic into every single day, then these 21 days are going to blow your mind. 21 days of powerful universal, behavioral, and strategic tools to quantum shift your internal state so that you start to see massive changes in your external reality, bringing the metaphysical into the physical. Join the challenge now and get ready for the most powerful 21-day expansion to quantum shift your impact, business, bank account, and your life.
Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.
There was this woman in front of me one day, and my manager just would not take no from an answer in terms of he was like, you will sell to this person, like what is it? Hell or high water. It is happening. And so I'm speaking to her and she is like, it is in an emotional state, because sometimes health and weight loss and the journey and all of those different things, it's a real fucking raw thing for people. And I'm sitting there in front of her as another human in empathy and going on that journey with her in full understanding of what that journey could be like. And my manager kept kind of calling me back, out the back kind of thing. And then you're telling me to say this thing or do that and send me out back to her. And I'd have to say something else. And then I'd have imagine that poor woman's experience. How fucking weird would that be, having the salesperson keep leaving? And I wasn't new at that point, let me tell you, right? It was probably about 6 months in. Anyway, the last straw for me was that I went to the manager and I said to the manager, whatever I said, and he turned around and said, yes, Skye, but you've done acting. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, it's basically just like that. Go out there and act. And basically what he was implying was to manipulate her by using her own vulnerabilities against her, to basically, manipulate her into, making a sale, into buying a gym membership. And that was the day I fucking quit. That was the day I quit. And I feel like I felt this feeling that just kind of went up my esophagus a second ago there. Because that fucking broke my heart. Not quitting. I was like, and I'm fucking done, right? Because I did not want to, I was never going to use somebody's vulnerabilities that they have just unpacked in front of me in confidence, and in how could I take that and then use it against her to manipulate in some ways, so that I could make a sale. Fuck that. All right. And so because we were in that place however many years ago, and to be honest with you, I reckon that time period within sales lasted quite a long time, and over the last, I reckon maybe 5 years, we probably shifted. Okay. So again, I've been within business and things like that for, as I just kind of said to you, more than 20 years. Right. And so I've seen it shift and felt into those shifts as they've come and gone. And so we were in fucking manipulation. We were in lack of integrity and rah money and all that kind of bullshit. And so if we swung the pendulum all the way that way, all those many years ago, we swung all the way back the other way. So what had been working, let's say, predominantly over the last kind of 5 years, I would say, is, as I just spoke about, the aspirational marketing side of things, okay? The marketing to the result, right? The speaking to people's greater desires, which is beautiful and it's inspiring and it's the visionary. I fucking love the visionary. I'm all for it. And so being able to say, hey, come and work with me and you land yourself 30K months or something like that. It's inspiring, it's aspirational, and it's expansive. All right. And it's also often more like a 1 year to sort of 3 year journey. Because it's something that it's like, come join me or come buy this product or whatever it may be, right? Because this is across industry. I'll just remind you that you use this however you may for you and your business. Because it's the marketplaces that are shifting, okay? This isn't product. This isn't program. This is the pool of people out there. This is us, even as consumers. We simply aren't believing the aspirational promise any longer. We're a little bit worn out by it. And I think that potentially, and again, I say this with love, but I think that maybe in the last few years, some clever people maybe were able to get on the whatever bandwagon, and perhaps were not aligned in integrity. And so the promises that they were making, they simply weren't able to back up. And because of that kind of a thing, the marketplace has shifted again. All right. And as I said to you, it's so important to understand these things, because even myself, the marketplace was shifting probably a few years ago, and it took us, I reckon, a good year and a half. Look, if you're watching me on video, you can see that I just shifted my entire body. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, I'm squirming around in my chair right now because it's uncomfortable for me to think about. Probably near on 2 years ago, but maybe the 15 months prior to that, we were slow. There were things changing within the marketplace, and like apparently thick-headed me didn't understand that at that time, or couldn't quite crack the code of what was shifting then, and what we needed to, I guess, latch onto to be able to speak better to our most ideal clients. And what that caused for that 15 months was a whole bunch of fucking clunkiness. Let me tell you, like, that's all I can really say, right? It created clunkiness and and messaging and marketing that maybe just felt like it wasn't landing. Of course, if we're not landing in the marketplace in a way that our ideal clients' ears can hear due to whatever societal change is going on, then again, we're less likely to sell. And if we're less likely to sell, equals less fucking money. All right. And I'm super straight up about it, you guys. Like, impact and income. I'm here for it all. All right. So we've stepped away from this aspirational, kind of frame. All right. We don't want to know the, 1 year, 3 year transformation. Come and live a life of amazingness and la la la. Like, it's just so beyond. And we're like, we're just not feeling it any longer. And again, I just say quickly before we find out, okay, fuck, Skye, tell me where we are now then. That you think about it. I said you're a consumer. Think about it. Are you a little bit like, when we get desensitized to things, like as a society, like maybe you watch the news and maybe some of it triggers you, and there are probably other news stories where it's just kind of like it's the same story again and again and again, and we're a little bit desensitized. I myself, I think about this in a sense of something like John Wick. All right, I don't mind a little bit of like stylized violence. How awful and terrible does that sound when you actually think about it out loud? Like, oh my gosh, like going and watching something like John Wick, and some of you will get it because you'll be like, no, I really don't like that kind of thing. You don't like stylized violence, right? Whereas, for me, like, again, I'm probably desensitized to that kind of a thing. And so I don't mind it, right? So these kinds of desensitizations are happening all of the time, everywhere. And so we are now becoming desensitized to the aspirational informations. We're a bit like, I've heard it. I don't know that I believe them. Maybe not, whatever. All right, that's where we're at. So what does that mean? Where are we now? What the fuck can we do about it? And how can we reach out to more ideal clients? So where we've landed now is far more actually in what's called more or less the frustrations with a sprinkling of wants. Okay. So frustrations, what that does, if you are able to show up in your marketplace with your niche messaging, or vice versa, broad messaging, but niche marketplace, right? And you're able to communicate the frustrations of your most ideal client, then guess what? They will actually attribute you to the solution as well. I'm going to say that one more time. If you are able to go out there to your marketplace and be able to articulate their very much now problems and frustrations, all right, then they will inherently, without you having to say anything inspiring or aspirational, whatever, they will already attribute you to having the solution, because you've been able to communicate to them in a way that is like, when you read a piece of marketing and you're like, oh my God, like they're speaking directly to me. Like, what are they, in my fucking head or something? That, you guys, that is what we're talking about. And so where we have landed now is this piece where it's like, if you can go out there and you can explain to your ideal clients how you fucking get them and what they are struggling with on any given day, the now problem, all right? Let me just describe the difference in fear, in frustrations and fears. So fears are like in the future. All right, the same as aspirations. So we were marketing on these amazing aspirations off into the future, and the equivalent of that is then in reverse is fears, because fears are something. Yes, I might be sitting here now fearing a thing, but I'm fearing that thing happening in the future. Okay. And marketing to fears, again, it's a little bit like, maybe what I was doing 20 years ago in the fitness industry, reluctantly doing, back then, where it's like we're playing on people's fears. And so you can speak to them a little bit, but I just don't like hanging out there. It doesn't feel nice. And I don't want people to read my content or show up here and listen to a podcast and be like, and walk away less shiny. And I think that sometimes fears, because especially if you are fucking nailing the fears, if you are getting like not the surface stuff, and it's good for you to understand what are the unconscious fears of my ideal client. It is really important that you understand that. But I don't know, I just don't like marketing to that kind of thing because, I just don't think people walk away feeling shiny. And I don't like that. I'd rather people read my stuff and feel a bit shiny from it. And so you can do that with frustrations, because frustrations are like, what are they laying awake at night thinking right now that if you were able to speak to in better language than they could articulate themselves, then they are going to attribute you to the solution. And you could sprinkle in some wants and desires in there too, because wants and desires are that sort of positive opposite of frustrations. I'm frustrated with this. I'm frustrated with that. Like, this isn't working out. So for my clients, it's like, I fucking want leads. I want engagement. I want engagement that equals leads. Those leads end up being, sales, and so those sales equal clients. These are the things my humans, as an example, are laying awake at night thinking. They're like, fuck, I need more money, or how am I going to get the next client, or why can't I seem to get leads on tap, or I'm sick of living in feast and famine all of the time. And again, if you're here listening to this, these are probably some things that you've thought, and I'm not going deep here, I'm just kind of throwing some things around. But if you're a coach, I'm in the realm, right? These are the things like on any daily given basis, right, that we're thinking about. And that's how okay, that's a frustration, because it's a now problem, And the wants is like, well, cool, what the fuck do I want right now? Well, it's the opposite of that. I want clients. I want cash. I want freedom. I want whatever it may be. I want engagement. I want social media to be easy, or. Alrighty. Now, again, I will just, confirm one more thing, because I said that I would talk a little bit about the time piece. And so we understand that aspirations and fears are off into the future. Okay. And so wants and desires and frustrations are the now based stuff. So now that we are speaking to frustrations and we are articulating to our clients that we understand them better than they understand themselves, and we're communicating that, everyone, this is a kicker, we're communicating that in their language, not ours. All right. I see a lot of people do that really wrong too. They use their practitioner language, or they use their profession's language, or they use their, I don't know, those kinds of things. And it's like, that's not how people are thinking about it. And there'll be a disconnect. So talk to them in a way that they're thinking about things, and it's actually going to land between their ears a lot easier, a lot faster. All right. So that's a little extra, tidbit there for you. So frustrations and wants are more in the now, as we discussed. So what the fuck does the now mean? It means you should be marketing to the next 30, 60, 90 days. All right. Or simply solving their problem right now. If you have a single product, whatever that may be, then, it's like, buy this thing now and you will feel significance, or like the right now kind of thing. All right. So those are the two biggest marketplace shifts that are happening right now. Okay. The simplified way for you to be able to understand your niche, your avatar even better. Honestly, if you do no other niche and avatar work, look, I'm just getting myself comfortable again because I want to talk to you guys really directly. If you do no other niche and avatar work, cool, no worries. All right. But you need to understand, as a bare minimum, if your marketplace is broad, then your messaging must be narrow. And if your messaging is broad, then your marketplace must be narrow. Okay. It's that simple. So do a little diagnostic on yourself and see where you're at. And if you need help, always just reach out to me on social media. I'm not trying to sell you something right now, but I'm just saying these are the conversations I'm having with people every single day. And, it would be my joy to obviously help and support you with that. And, our second piece to that, which was then understanding the shifts that have happened in relation to how we are then messaging and speaking to people. And that we want to step away from that really big result that's way off into the future because the marketplaces are simply not believing that anymore. We've become too desensitized to it, and there hasn't been enough integrity backing up the claims that have been getting made out there. So if you can speak to the very now frustrations of your marketplace, then they are going to attribute you to the solution. All right. So speak more to the frustrations with a sprinkling of wants and desires this 30, 60, 90 days. And oh my goodness, you are like a million times ahead of the marketplace than anybody else right now. Let me tell you, because we are hitting this, and which is exactly why I'm teaching it. Like, I've been teaching this to all my VIP clients over the last, this year. So a couple of months now. And so if you're just listening in to this now, as I said, take it, whatever resonates, do a diagnostic on yourself and your own business and where things are at. Make those simple little tweaks, because sometimes it can feel really fucking daunting and overwhelming. So just pick a couple of little tweaks. Ooh, how can I message be, even more specifically? Or, how can I talk about myself? How can I talk about the solution? What are the frustrations? Just pick like 3 main frustrations. All right. Do a big verbal dump onto a piece of paper or something like that. Right. Just write out a bunch of stuff and then highlight the top 3. Right? Yes, that is the thing that my clients are laying awake at night thinking, or that is the main solution for my product, or what they're after, wants, the desires, the frustrations, that kind of thing.
Gorgeous being. It is truly my honor to have you here joining me on this co-created adventure through the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. However it is that you landed here, whether we know each other personally or professionally, whether a friend shared this podcast with you as they thought you might get something out of it, or whether you stumbled across me by sheer accident or divine intervention, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to ask you a little favor. It is my joy to do what it is that I do every single day. And so if you have received anything here, a piece of magic, a strategy, a mindset shift, something that has transformed you in some way, I ask that you share this podcast with others so that together we can transform the world for the better. One business, one human, one frequency, and one podcast at a time. Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.
I love you guys. I hope that was super helpful. If that wasn't helpful, you guys, I don't know what would be, to be honest with you. All right. I know that sounds, I don't know what that sounds like. That's not coming from ego. That is simply like, holy fuck, this stuff is so fucking mind-blowing right now. And the fact that you are hearing it and being able to be ahead of the curveball as this curve, starts to come into play, fuck yes to that, right? Because it's going to put you a million times ahead of any of your competition who hasn't realized that this is the shift that is happening. And that is why today's podcast is the most fucking important podcast that you are going to listen to this year, because everything else, as we move forward, including in Cosmic Money and this next most amazing season, is going to be tied into all those different kinds of amazing things that are giving you the shifts that you need right now so that you can get fucking 3% better every single day and really fucking transform your existence, your business, and your life. I love you.
Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of 7-figure business.